When an Israeli company want to sell today to the DoD, we have the mutual understanding that we stand for the same value and we fight together. Israel is famous by its tech and by the mind that created tech that is coming from the Israeli military. Most of the entrepreneurs in Israel, and we know that, are graduated of, elite information units that been seeing things that we only see 20 years after they're coding. Add to that the revolution of AI, and add to that what all the world see right now that Israel has been able to do, and you got yourself a superpower.
Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spyro Circle, this time in collaboration with Forbes Israel. One of the biggest sectors to see massive growth coming out of Startup Nation has been defense tech. Ever since October 7, there have been a whole new generation of founders, investors, entrepreneurs who are all building and investing in defense tech technologies. So what does that mean? It means that there are companies that are often dual use. They have civilian use cases, but also military use cases. And it means that their founders usually have come out of the army after serving their country, identified a missing gap, and aim to fill it. I spoke to two women this week that are leading one of the VC firms coming out of this post-October 7 defense tech boom. Lital Leshem and Moser both founded Protego Ventures soon after October 7. They invest in early-stage defense tech companies that are focused on national security, protection, defense, and all the things that make the sector so important. They have experience in entrepreneurship and investing, but also in global geopolitics. We spoke about current conflicts with Iran, Israel's relationship with the United States, and what it means to be a founder in this new fractured world, and all the things they're building along the way. I hope you enjoy. Lital, Lee, thank you so much for taking the time today.
It's our pleasure.
Lital, I want to start with you, please. I want to, before we dive into Protego Ventures and everything that you guys do, I want to dive a bit into the starting point and what spurred everything for you folks and for the team and for the industry. So take me back to those early days and set the scene for us.
Wow. So I guess we'll go 2.5 years ago, because that's where it all came about. I guess on October 7th, which is where this paradigm shift has began. I just came back from a business trip from New York. And in the morning, I heard the sirens. I got a phone call from Lee. Actually, she was the first one who called me. She's in Herzliya. I'm more next to the airport, so she kind of like had the mass of the sirens, and she was already aware that something not usual was going on. By her phone call, I opened my WhatsApp group and I saw my reservist WhatsApp team very, very active. It was very clear that something was going on. I personally I was sure this is a cyber attack. I read the notifications and I couldn't handle it in a way that, Nahal Oz was where I was based. When I got a notification saying Nahal Oz was conquered, it seemed like a joke to me. So I was very, very sure this is a cyber attack. Anyway, by that, I got on a uniform, both me and my husband, and we drove down south. We didn't try to make it to the brigade, but we got to the Southern Command, which is based in Beersheba. And by 9 a.m., we were already at the Central War Room, just to hear how wrong I was. This wasn't a cyber attack, obviously. It wasn't even a fracture of how bad the situation was. And by that, I guess I had a first row to see how we're acting differently in this war, and how the soldiers and the commanders in the field are adapting new technological capabilities in order to face the new threat that we were handling. Lee will give her part of the story, but she was the founder of one of the largest aid organizations in the country. She was very much involved with that, and our paths crossed right when her partners and her colleagues from the U.S. I asked her to come to visit them and them what was happening. She was giving the civilian aid organization perspective. I was talking about the military perspective, and we flew together. We talked to a lot of people, and maybe I'll pause for a minute. I'll let Lee give her story, and then we'll dive deeper into Protego.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Lital, for thank you for starting us off. And Lee, I'd love to hear from you.
Sure. For me, it was also a surprise, to start a defense tech fund because, and Lital can tell you, when you have a fund, and I've been a fund partner in the past, I would say 13 years, defense was never a theme for us, right? Like they sell to government, it's a very long procurement cycle. And then October 7 really happened, and everything that Lital told you, what she saw first sight on the battlefield, bringing technology very, very quickly into operational, but also everything around the world, right? It's not just Israel. It's Russia and Ukraine, it's China and Taiwan, it's China and the US. Like this is the main story. It's NATO and the US, NATO and Russia, basically creating government or moving government to increasing their defense budget and spending more and more, not on defense primes, but also on defense tech. And I think this is an opportunity we both seize. Lital from kind of the ground itself, like she saw it happen. She saw the drones, she saw the automation, the robotic. And for me, I saw it from, I would say, the opportunity side of the investors. Hey, like, are you doing defense? What do you see on defense? We want to invest in defense. Look what's going on in the public markets. Is that also in the private markets? And this is where we really connect, and we said, okay, something is changing dramatically, right? It's not the geopolitical, it's not just Israel and the Middle East or what going on. It's also like a real paradigm shift in many, many, I would say, 1,000 years of history, when the military is shifting from men to unmanned. And we want to be there because this is an opportunity we want to seize. This is an opportunity that just began. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Rita, I know that we were the first mover in Israel to declare a defense fund and also have the money to do that. So we've been running for 1.5 years, investing 8 months, and already have 5 companies in our portfolio. So very, very bullish about it.
No, thank you. Thank you both. The reason I wanted to start this episode kind of diving us right into that moment, it really gives credence to the anchoring of where we are today, and it places us right in that moment that caused everything else to go from that. And so what I mean by that is that, as you both said, the things that came out of that day and in that moment of life, in that moment of the world, excuse me, where there was an emphasis on defense and geopolitics was looking a bit unstable, or at least unstable as it had more unstable as it had in recent years. And so out of that instability, you folks are building something that is encouraging stability and encouraging long-term thinking for defense and frontier tech, and it kind of enters into a new era, which is why I wanted to start with the kind of inciting incident. So how has that been for the last 1.5 years for you with everything else? So take out the VC side, take out the incident of October 7 aside. What's it like in terms of the investment space that we're seeing today? How is the world reacting to a fund like yours?
Got it. Well, it's been hectic.
What a
right?
journey.
It's been a crazy journey, and it still is. I'll start from ourselves. I think when we started the fund, we said, first of all, we're going to be very humble, because when you see technology changing right in front of your eyes, you don't know everything. You know what you know your past, you bring the best people that you can, right? Like we have Major General Tal Kalman, and our CTO is Ziv Avtalion, one of the top technologists in Israel. But you also see changes that you didn't see before, right? Where to invest in, what opportunities we want to see, what kind of type of team we want to build. And it's been a humble learning process for the two of us. From the other hand, I guess other people, investors and institutions and governments and our partners, saw what we saw. like that this is a real opportunity. By the way, both for defending democracies, but also for growing a lot of money, right? And we still have a crazy inflow of LPs that are interested in investing in the funds, and they are very, very sophisticated. We have the founders of the biggest institution, like financial institution in the world. We have former presidents of company like PayPal or Tinder or others. So it's a group of very sophisticated investors that decided to choose defense, Lital and myself, and it's still going on. So I think very positively, very, very positively. And as we speak, we're still learning. Like it's a humble experience.
Because I was reporting on this shift at the time it was happening, right? This like post October 7 world that Israel found itself in, but also as you were mentioning, the opportunities that come from that, and the ways that we can fight back and regrow. And one of the things that I found, so it kind of feels obvious now, but as you were saying, like to live through it, was the evolution of defense tech as a sector, not so much as a sector, but also Israel's kind of unique position in it. And I used to relay it back to the kind of next evolution of cybersecurity, which Israel was thriving in because it was the next evolution of general security. Because Israel's always had to be on the defensive side, whether it's through kind of land battles or cyber attacks, and now defense more generally. Lital, I want to bring you in, please, because of something that we've spoken about off this call, but I wanted to kind of bring it back for those who are watching or listening now. Obviously, it's an exciting time to be in defense tech and the opportunities and businesses that can come from there. But that's not to say that any trauma or stigma has washed away with that. So you mentioned that you've often been the only Israeli to be standing up at a conference or representing this era that everyone's finding themselves in. It's not an easy time to do that. Not an easy task. Talk me through about what that may have felt like, and what people may not understand about the role that someone is doing. Like people may not understand about what that takes from someone.
Well, I guess that with how this paradigm shift has begun and the market shifting into, the countries are getting themselves armed and ready to go. The threats are being, very uncertain. I mean, nobody knows what can happen, but everybody's expecting everything. I mean, look at what's happening to Israel. Very unpredicted. So it gives everybody the feeling that they need to be ready, especially NATO countries, especially Europe. And a lot of appetite is coming out of this market, if you wish. A lot of speaking opportunities, a lot of conferences, a lot of thought leaders that are getting together in order to discuss the real challenges that are knocking at their door, without necessarily having the U.S. as their big brother and watching their back. With that, we had the opportunity, Protego had the opportunity to come and speak and join a lot of discussions, very close conferences, and many big ones and commercial ones. We joined the Munich Security Conference. We spoke at Tectonic at Paris. We were at the Resilience Conference in London. Me and Lee just came back from APAC, a conference that they did in DC. So there's a lot of speaking opportunities and a lot of engagements around the field, and many find ourselves, not in the US, I must say, but in Europe, we find ourselves as the only representative out of Israel. I guess it's divided into two reasons. First of all, the market is still premature for entrepreneurs who are looking for investors. I guess the European market is not yet awaken completely to the fact that this is where they should invest. I think they're going there. It's market education, but it takes time. And on the other hand, they really want to have local capabilities and IP. I'm talking about Europe. So, it differs on the fact that the best innovation is coming out of Israel. I don't think there's a question on that, but they still need to adapt to the fact that in order to have access to this innovation, they need to work with a very strong Israeli partner, prime, VC, government, whatever, and not be only dependent on their own capability. Sorry to say, but pretty far behind, and we're not. I want to say renewed since World War II.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of conversation around that right now about the strengths and weaknesses of different regions, especially in this era, whether or not it's political or diplomatic or economic or business or otherwise. Lee, I want to kind of help double tap on some of the things that Lital just mentioned, because a lot of the things that Protego Ventures are focusing on is US based, right? You're more, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the specifics, but like
The go-to-market, yes.
exactly,
Where we want
right?
to sell, yeah.
Thank you. So you focus more on the US than Europe or other regions. Are you noticing anything different or new in the way that the US and Israel are acting as a bridge, given change of leadership or changing times, or just all of the above,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, you got me to the topic that I like, politics and policy.
I did my research. Yeah, I knew how to.
I was a long time ago. I was a diplomat. I was the Israeli ambassador, chief of staff. I was the chief of staff for Michael Oren. So I spent a lot of time in the White House, Congress, Senate, or the corridors, as we like to call it. I think that the change is huge. First of all, let's talk about what's going on today. Okay, today we have F-35, F-16, aircraft carrier fighting shoulder by shoulder, Israeli and American. You have the Secretary of War saying that they are fighting with one of the strongest militaries in the world. This is Israel. So I think looking at a shift of the past, I would say for me, 16 years, it's a huge shift. Now, let's take those governments that are working shoulder to shoulder, sometimes with more agreement, sometimes with less agreement. But I think we didn't see anything like that in the history of the state of Israel. And I don't think we saw anything like that on the history of the state of America with Israel. So this is really implementing the field. Okay. When an Israeli company want to sell today to the DoD, we have the mutual understanding that we stand for the same value and we fight together. Also, there is the Israel is famous by its tech and by the mind that created tech that is coming from the Israeli military. Most of the entrepreneurs in Israel, and we know that, are graduated of, elite information units that been seeing things that we only see 20 years after they're coding it. Add to that the revolution of AI, and add to that what all the world see right now that Israel has been able to do, and you got yourself a superpower. Superpower with data from the battlefield. Unfortunately, by the way, that we've been need to fight for 80 years. And this data can be translated to save people lives in all aspects. On the battlefield, if you're looking at drone protection, force protection, close circles of fire, on civilians. And by the way, when we have Iron Dome and David Sling, and this is a technology that's been developed when I was in DC, I remember lobbying for the intercept in the Congress for Israel. It's also preventing war. Because if those missiles, in the amount of the missiles that we see today, would hit every house in Israel, it would be a much more difficult thing for the government to react more and more aggressively. So it's not just protecting people, and it's not just defending our values, and it's not just enable us to fight shoulder and shoulder with our allies for what important to us as a country. It's also promoting tremendously what Israel has been able to do in the battlefield in the past 3 years. And by the way, non-apologetic from the defense tech aspect. So for me, it's like, it's a history being built. And hopefully this technology will go and will protect us, not fight. Like, how do I say, peace in constraint? We were able to live in peace by demonstrating that we can defend ourselves. Middle East is a very tough neighborhood. Very tough neighborhood.
Yeah, we don't have the easiest neighbors.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really inspiring what you've said, and it's going to probably give a lot of folks comfort whether they're in the business sector or the military sector or just kind of civilians at home. I mean, we even started this episode before we were recording. The three of us had to align on what would happen if we had to run away to go to our bunkers or to go underground. Or so the reality on the ground is also, I think, quite difficult for people to understand unless you really live it, or even seeing it, I think, doesn't really quite do it justice.
Yeah.
Are there any frictions? Are there any tensions that may be coming up that people aren't speaking about or don't want anyone to know?
She's smiling. You want to take it? Like
I,
the ones that
It's
are
an
not
open
buying.
question. Yeah, it's an open question. I don't want to pick on you, Lee, but it's
No, I think that it really depends on the timing. I want to say that the sentiment against Israel obviously has an influence on the business and the industry and the ecosystem. Probably when we had good achievements, or our media did a good work by spreading what we're doing in a good way, we got to be much more positive. I talk about days after the beeper attack, which seems to be super, super sophisticated and unique. And, we got a lot of credit for it. So that's where we had the sentiment increase, and a lot of people would probably want to be in touch with us, and doors would be open. It would be much more pragmatic in terms of, hey, okay, we got it. Now we're with you. On the other hand, when pictures were coming out of the Gaza war of slavery and other things, then the sentiment went south, and we had to face that as well. So it really depends on the timing. But overall, I think we're much more stable today. I think there is no question about defense tech and the fact that we are gold standard in a way in Israel. Everybody are seeking for Israeli innovation and defense tech, and I want to say we're top of the funnel.
And by the way, I just want to add to what you said about pictures from Gaza. This is also a technology war.
Correct.
What's real? What was fake?
and an information war, not
Yeah,
just a technology
what
war.
was real? Right? Like we found ourselves, you and I, seeing a picture that it's obviously an AI, and we work with tools that we know that are, can tell us if it's fake or not. And this is an additional layer. And James, you spoke about cyber. I think what we see today is like the first AI war, if we say, and it started before October 7th. It started with the TikTok. It started with the influence of countries, among them Qatar and others. And when October 7th happened, we saw a lot of the influence going outside. And I think when talking about defense, this is also an issue that should be addressed, right? Like, what is defense? Is it just war? Right?
Is that something that you folks are doing? Sorry to interrupt there, but I really want to kind of pinpoint that. Are you focusing on the information tech side of things? Is that something that you guys are looking at, or is it more? Are you focused more on the dual use hardware, deep tech things? Talk me through a bit exactly.
We do both of them. That for us considered to be definitely defense tech. Everything that has to do with the cognitive war, or the information war, as you call it. But definitely something that we're seeing a lot. A lot of entrepreneurs are going on this direction, and we're seeing many of them. Super interesting field, especially with what Lee just mentioned on AI. And everything that has to do with dual use as well. As far as it doesn't defocus the company, that is something that we would find very, very interesting. Listen, for a lot of investors, being a dual use company is kind of like a security cushion, if you wish. Because if the company does not defense the defense angle of things, it always has the way of commercial to grow. It's not necessarily the best thing. We in Protego, we focus on military application, on defense companies that are giving solutions to the battlefield. Sometimes they are dual use. Sometimes they come from the commercial side of things. They've already been working in the commercial market for a while already, and now they're pivoting into the defense and doubling down on the opportunity. And usually they have a very good product with a very good solution. So we find that very, very interesting. But again, we have to make sure that it's not a defocus for the company, and they do have the resources to address both markets.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, it's really interesting because now and we're getting into kind of the next part of what I wanted to speak about, which was dual use and AI convergence and how it all comes together, and how seemingly in a world that's becoming more fragmented and more unstable, the things that you folks are doing is build, again, the recurring theme of finding the structures and the frameworks within those to keep building. I wanted to touch a bit more on the information and the TikTok and AI warfare context that we've seen there. The long-term effects of that, because Lee, you were painting a very optimistic image of collaboration between Israel and the US, and this partnership that is inspiring.
Current environment.
Well,
10 years from now, it will be different.
Yeah, I mean, because I also wanted to bring that all together, because it's also that change of leadership on either side can affect that, and I'm British, right? So I'm very much aware of how leadership can affect so-called special relationships. Believe me, at least in the last couple of weeks, and leadership may change, context may change. We're speaking now. October 7 isn't even the most recent conflict that the country has been in. We're at this moment undergoing a conflict with Iran. So that, on top of all of the warfare that we're seeing through AI and through social media, and accusing Netanyahu of having 6 fingers or 5 fingers, whatever they were trying to accuse him of having.
He drank coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly, right, and doing backflips on off the coffee table I saw as well. Anyway, we're getting a bit sidetracked, but where does all of that lead us in 5 years? Because the levels of defense are going to expand so much outside of the traditional battlefield and dual use. It's going to be on every direction. I'm certainly doing what I can, but I'm not an army. So where does it look like for you guys?
Sure. I'll tell you what I think. I think in general, as Israel, that was always kind of an island surrounded with enemies, we should first always take care of ourselves. Our ability to defend ourselves, our ability to manufacture, our ability to build technologies. Now, this is a small country and we cannot do everything. So the second layer will be to retain very, very strong partnership and allianship, including the US, which is, I think, today the biggest ally of the US, but also others. Our role, and I was a diplomat. I always thought I would go to politics. It's not going to happen. But I think our role is very important, because if Israel continue to be a leader in tech and a leader in defense, meaning that we can build new alliances based on the knowledge that we can share, because it's huge. And not a lot of countries in the world had it. They want what we have, and we want allianship and more security. So for me, putting aside the changing government, it's a democracy. Hopefully the democracy will work forever. I'm a big fan of democracies, especially here, right? But we need to make sure that what we do, what Lital and myself does, and our colleagues that are great, and we want to see more and more and more funds investing in tech and investing in defense, that can eventually bring us to create very meaningful allianship in our area. So we need the US, but we also need the Abraham Accords, and we also need the Middle East, right? Yeah. And we also need India. This is huge. And we need Singapore, and we need South Pacific. And if we're going to be smart, I think we can and we should use our technological edge to be able to create more strategic allianship and policy that will help us protect ourselves, even with leadership changes.
The hope is that it transcends all of that, right? And that the message is bigger than any administration or government or leader, but you want it to transcend everything. Lital, do you have anything to add? I know that we spoke about India as well in the past. We've spoken about the potential there and some of the opportunities there. So what can you tell me a bit about, maybe adding on what Lee has just said?
I would say that Israel was always considered to be startup nation central. It's now very clear that Israel has become defense tech central. Everybody are coming to us in order to learn, in order to get access to defense innovation. India is one of them. We're getting a lot of delegations that are coming to the country, seeking for those kind of capabilities for the companies who are answering and tackling real problems that they're having. We have our own portfolio company, Extend, which is building an operational system for robotics. Their claim to fame is a drone, which they manufacture themselves. They just closed a contract in India for $11 million just a few days ago. Boots on the ground over there. So also bridging that gap between Israel and India. And this is only the beginning. This is a very growing market. Protego sees, we see ourselves as addressing this market next to Europe and the US. It's super strategic. It's huge. And they're really are understanding the opportunity. They're physically here in Israel, and we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, it's amazing. I want to speak. You mentioned that we've mentioned it a few times, so I want to give it a bit more attention, which is some of your portfolio companies and some of the companies that you've been supporting in this era, whether or not they are brand new companies or brand new founders. I kind of want to understand a bit about the mindset of someone who is building a company like this in this era, in this sector, in this time. So what can you tell me about what may be different among the founders of today versus maybe 5 or 10 years ago? What are some of the psychological changes or economic changes or technical changes? What's that look like?
This is a good question for Lee, but I would just say
For
that
me, you're a founder that just had an exit 2 months ago. I think this is exactly for you.
It can be for both of you. It can be for both of you. But
I will start with just saying that, as Lee mentioned earlier, all of the information units, 8200, 8100, a lot of graduates from those units would leave the military and go and start a company in fintech and cyber. That's where most of the capital from the global market investors would find it very, very attractive to invest in those kind of companies. Defense tech was super challenging. We talked about it a bit in the beginning, but investing in defense is not was never considered a good opportunity. It's the long sales cycles and procurement, and we touched upon it a bit when we started this conversation. But there weren't a lot of entrepreneurs who would enter that field, even if they had a great idea. It was just too hard and too challenging. Today, it's the other way around. I think the founders have a lot of motivation and also a lot of experience. They're coming out of the battlefield. All of them, most of them are in reserves duty. They get out. They know exactly what's the pain. They're coming with their own ideas and a lot of motivations to grow it and implement it. And it's actually happening. I mean, the Israeli DARPA and the Israeli government and the IDF are open to adapting those kind of technologies and capabilities. And by that, you actually stand a chance. So those founders are much more keen and I guess brave to enter that space. And it makes the shift. Everything is happening. The money's flowing in. The founders are founding new companies, implementing in the battlefield, and that circle continues. I personally feel very, very privileged to be working with those kind of founders. I feel it was always in our DNA, the Israeli DNA, but you see it very, very clearly in the defense tech industry.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Lee. I'm gonna pick on you now. I'm sorry. I gotta turn the spotlight. I want to hear your point of view on that, please.
On the change in entrepreneurs,
or just generally, generally what we're seeing today. Yeah.
I think, we see a lot of boldness. Most of the entrepreneurs that I knew in the past 15 years, they wouldn't choose defense because of the reason that Lital said. There wasn't private money. If they were, it was one of the Israeli defense prime that could buy them in $40 or $50 million, and it wasn't worth their time. Now it's a combination. It's, I want to do good for my country, okay? And I want to do it through technology, and I can always do good, and I can also do good for myself. So their mission, there is a mission behind it, which is, not only grow successful company and, build your own brand, but it's also, how do I help my country? And it's very, very strong. We see a lot of defense company. I think we saw what 160 companies, Lital.
In the past
Not
year.
all of them, yeah, not all of them are the best, and not all of them are they're gonna save the country or other country, but some of them is just like it's sci-fi. And
Yeah.
and for me, I really see I see the paradigm shift we see, but in front of my eyes. We can see today how military will be fighting war or defending their civilians in 50 years. And this is something that was always reserved for militaries and government. And for the first time, you, our investors, right, we can see how it will act. And bring to that, you have more openness from the governments. By the way, Israeli and NATO and India that we spoke, and also the US, to embrace software much quicker, which is not based in the US or not made in India, into their most sensitive um, um, uh, offices. Okay. And this is the change. And this is what's so interesting and miracle about it. And for me, like, I'm a fund manager. I'm an optimistic person. I decided to start a VC, by the way, not just one, a few. So for me, I'm a huge believer in that. And I believe it will make a lot of money. A lot for investors that decided to do it today. Doesn't matter if with us or with the public markets or with whoever, Locks Capital in New York. This is a time that wealth is being created. And it is an opportunity that if you are an investor or a founder, you need to take. And for me, it's very exciting, very humbling.
Mm. No,
I learn a lot
definitely.
from my partner here on defense.
That's great. That's what you love to hear, how you
Yeah,
can,
I learned so much.
yeah,
No, we
without driving each
definitely.
other too crazy, which is often what I hear from co-founders as well. It's, it's that middle ground between supporting each other and surviving each other. Although you two seem to be doing better
No,
than
listen, we had an aha moment. We looked at each other and
And we knew.
like, do you want to do a defense fund? And she looked at me and said, like, why do you ask that? Because I just thinking about it. And this is how we started 2.5 years ago.
yeah, it's amazing.
So I think we're a part of changing history. So, and I hope more will come.
Well, there's more. There's more. There's more to your point than just the sentiment and feeling. I mean, there's literally numbers that can back it
Yeah.
up. I mean, like
Yeah.
when this
Numbers.
recent conflict came up with Iran, everyone was looking at the stock market, and the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange soared. It hit its highest point ever, and it was a very paradoxical, very counterintuitive reaction. But I was speaking to someone else about this, and not only is the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange filled with these defense companies, which make up a lot of the companies there, but it's also an indication of market confidence and investor confidence, not in the present but in the future. Right, that's what it's doing, and so
Yeah.
confidence
It's not
is
only
rising.
defense, by the way. It's manufacturing. It's banks. It's the shekel. And
Yeah,
again,
it's not just defense that's on the
yeah,
tase. Of course, there are other
Israel.
institutions and
Israel in
sectors, of
general
course.
is listen. At the end of the day, nobody likes war. Like we all of us, we run all the time. We wanna live in a peaceful place. In the Middle East, you wanna live peacefully, but to be very, very strong,
Mm.
both financially, and this is what techs bring to Israel, but also military, and this is what techs bring to Israel. So it goes together.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Going ahead, what are some of the traits that you look for in companies, in founders, in leaders? Maybe not something that's not directly involved with the work you folks do. So, what are you looking for? And well, we'll start with Lital because Lee had the final word last time.
We're looking for founders who are ready to go the whole way. Because again, as we mentioned, you need a lot of courage and a lot of boldness in order to enter the field and take it all the way through the global market. Not answer only a pain that exists here in Israel, which is, again, a lot, but actually scale a company into expansion, actually have a company get to the US stock exchange, actually take it all the way through and not sell it once you reach and first offer of 30 or $40 million, because that's usually what would happen in this kind of industry. But founders who are ready to go all the way to the end.
Lee, any final comments, words?
No, I definitely agree with that. We're looking for founders that are more mature. They dream about building a big company and having income. They dream about the exit, but they also very like down to earth. This is what I sell. This is who I'm selling to. This is the money I can make, and this is how we look at companies. It's an early growth. We invest in companies between 10 to $20 million in revenues. But we're also looking for people that, it's always like that. You want to work with people you believe in them, in their dream, in their values. So I have nothing to add. Like, this is exactly how I would sum up. And if you hear us, founders, please reach out. Sorry, James.
No, don't apologize at all. That leads me to my very final question. And I want to give you both ample space and time to do so. What is the best way for anyone, investor, entrepreneur, founder, friend, to get in touch with you, to follow you, see what you folks are up to?
So we're very active both on LinkedIn. We have a great website. We're available. We have all of our contact information online. Both me and Lee's email are available, and we're happy to address anyone who will approach.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll make sure to put those links at the bottom, so anyone who's watching this or listening to this can get in touch with you directly and follow and see what you folks are up to. Lital, Lee, thank you so much for your time today. It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing to hear that in a world that's becoming fractured and crazy, to meet some of the minds that are rebuilding and funding and supporting the growth and infrastructure that comes out of it. So thank you so much for your time and insights today.
Thank you so much.